First meeting of the year. This is kind of shocking that this little group's been going on for 2 years now. I started it. If you missed any of the previous meetings, they're all in the Facebook group. If you tried to join the Facebook group but somehow weren't allowed in, you may have had a different name or didn't answer the question. So I just try to do that so we keep it spam free with all the spammers and bots. If you have a new email, switch school districts, or your friends like, oh, I didn't get the link to the webinar. A lot of people have changed jobs apparently in the past few months. So I got a lot of bounce back emails from people in the group. So if they're asking, have them sign up or contact me again on the form so I have their new email. Appreciate it. Cameras on for the most part. If you have to eat or something, no big deal, but it's always nice to present to people that their cameras on. But if you're diving into an egg sandwich, don't worry about it. Keep your camera off, but always appreciate the cameras on. If you have questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we'll have a little Q&A with Lily and Peter, but we'll also have time at the end to ask questions. So if you have a question, you can hang on to the end. People always ask, the meeting is being recorded. We do record it. It won't be out for a while. So the best is to come here live and ask the Q&A and all that stuff. I also feel like people always ask if the meetings can be recorded and they never go back and watch it anyway. But it is being recorded and we'll put it on the podcast as well. That's it. I asked Lily and Peter to come on. They just started their digital media team, their communications internship in August. I feel like I've been doing it now for a while and I always get asked about how to start it. So them having just gone through the process, I thought would be super valuable, because people that are really ready to launch or thinking about it, you have those how do we start it questions, which are really important to get it going. So they just went through the process. They're up and running. They have a bunch of interns. They're doing it at 2 schools. So I thought they would be perfect to chat with today. So without any further ado, we give you Lily and Peter. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. So we're super excited to be here. Before we dive into the presentation, I do want to take a moment to thank Ryan so much for his help. He welcomed his doors over at Arcadia Unified, and at the time, Amber was over there as well. So we wouldn't be where we are today without their guidance throughout this process. So thank you, Ryan. We really appreciate you. So we'll be sharing about the digital media team. And so welcome. We're so happy you're here. For today's agenda, we'll be going over just briefly about our communications team, a little bit about our Envision initiative. So our digital media club ties into our Envision initiative. And then we'll be going over the program or overview, some promotional efforts, and then logistics and schedule. A platform that we use is called Class Intercom for publishing content, and then equipment and swag that we got for the kids. And then if you have any questions, where you can find us.
Yeah. So real quick, I won't get into specifics on everyone and what they do, but this is kind of just a quick overview of our team. We do have our Chief of Communications, our Director of Communications, Lily here, Communications Manager. We have 3 multimedia specialists, myself included. We have our Communications Assistant, our Public Relations Specialist, and then also our Executive Assistant to the Chief of Communications.
Now, real quick, before people, they're drooling. They're very jealous right now. They're like, what in God's name? You have 9 people. I have a half a person. That's why I'm here doing an internship. Explain to them how big you guys are as a district so they kind of get it. So they don't, they're not so jealous.
So we have over 50 schools, over 50,000 students. So just to give you kind of an idea of how big our district is.
See, I brought their blood pressure down a bit because they're starting to get angry.
Yes, we are a very, very large district, and we haven't always had 9 teammates for a long while there. It was a few of us on the team. Evita has been with the district, I want to say for going on 15 years. So under her leadership, she's been able to really expand the communications office. And then same, Patty has been right there with her throughout the journey. And then I've been here for 8 years. But yeah, so over the years, Evita has really fought to expand the team, which is super awesome. But we are a very, very large district.
So with that, so about the digital media team, it officially launched summer of this year, so 2024. It is ran by us, the communications department. So we kind of oversee the whole thing. One thing we really wanted to do is that we wanted to make it like a club model, because yes, we want students to be able to get the experience of this whole, what it's like to be in a digital media team. We want them to, learn how to use cameras, learn how to edit, graphics, writing. So we get the experience part, but also we get, that fun without having to worry about deadlines and grading, and so they're able to kind of really take it in without the pressures of that, like of it not being a club. So when we were making the digital media team, we really wanted to emphasize, yeah, this is a club. It's not a graded course. So it kind of alleviates that pressure from the students. And then, so between both schools, we have 32 students. And for those students to be on the digital media team, they had to fill out an application. Once we got those applications, we kind of looked it over. And then admin had to approve them. So once we, admin, hey, these kids are good, they have good GPAs, then we're able to take them on. And then one thing also, we have a field trip during the school year, so probably more towards the end of the school year, and we're aiming to do the USC campus tour. So kind of oversee their whole video film department and what that's like, since it's, it's very well known as part of that school. And then, so kind of the program overview, we'll go into a little bit later about the weekly meetings. But really, we have those to kind of get feedback from the students. We assist them. We do those check-ins, like, hey, what's working, what's not working? What are you trying to really gain right now? And then, so in this whole process, students will learn photography, videography, writing, social media posting, graphic design, teamwork skills. We're really big on collaboration. So we want students to be able to collaborate with each other. And then, project management. And then we tell them this is all work that you're able to put in a resume. So when they're ready to, that way it's not just a high school thing. They can take their work that they've done and then apply it even after high school. So what we need from those students is we need that year-long commitment. And one thing we tell them all the time too is please respect the equipment. We're really big on, if something happens, please reach out to us right away. Don't feel like, we tell them, like, don't feel like you're going to get in trouble. Like, oh my God, something happened to the camera. I'm scared to tell them, like, no, please tell us right away. Because the sooner you let us know, the quicker we can fix it. We can send the camera in for replacements. We can figure something out. And then also that willingness to learn. And that's why we're here. We want them to, one of the things we told them in the beginning is we asked them, like, hey, show of hands, who's interested in this or who's interested in that? And we want them to know don't feel like you need to be exclusive with that one thing or that one, whatever you're familiar with. We want you to learn more. That's what we're here for. If you've ever considered journalism, we can help you write those articles. We can help you into graphic design, video production, editing, and then anything else you really want to do. That kind of falls under the umbrella of working in communications and what it's like.
Oh, sorry. So a little bit about our promotional efforts. We started promoting the digital media team back in the spring. So our promotion efforts included flyers. We did a targeted email to all students at Norco and Corona High School. And we also did a short promo video featuring the team, encouraging kids to apply. And everything, our color scheme is we try to keep it within the color scheme that you see here on the screen. Posters were distributed across the campus. We gave flyers to the school counselors and left them on the front office as well, so kids can get information when they're meeting with their school counselor or walking by through the office. And then when we sent out the targeted emails, it went to the parents, and then it also went to the students as well. And we figured that it was good that it's going to the parents, because if they see it and they know their child, they might say, hey, Peter, this is something that you might be interested. You should go ahead and apply. We also, so on the communications team, we have access to all of our school social media accounts. So we hopped on there and we would share graphics to their Instagram stories or to their Facebook pages promoting DMT. And we also did tabling during lunch. So through our print shop department, we had A-frame signs made that we took with us, and we were out in the quad and had an informational table and had information about the program, but also how to apply. So as Peter mentioned earlier, students had to apply, and we then got approval from the administration team to move forward. And the application, at first we only had it online, but once we started tabling during lunch, we realized that it might be a little bit easier for the kids to fill out a paper application. So we converted it into a hard copy application, and it was up to the kids. If they wanted to fill out the online one, they could do so. If they wanted to fill out the paper one, they could fill out the paper one. And the application was pretty simple. So it just had basic contact information, and then they had to write a paragraph or two about why they want to join the club and what their interests are and what they would like to learn. And the reason that we asked what they would like to learn is so on the back end, we kind of had an idea of how we can plan our lesson topics accordingly.
Real quick, I love the idea. The email blast, the social media is great. The tabling at lunch, I think, is a genius idea because they get to meet you, talk to you, ask questions, kind of get to know you, like you. That's recruitment effort I haven't seen, but I really like that idea. That's very well thought out.
Yeah, it was fun. The first time that we were there was kids walking by, and then we would say, "Hey, you want to join the digital media club?" And they would walk right past us. So we at one point we just went up to the lunch tables too with flyers and would explain to the kids, "Hey, are you interested in photo? Are you interested in content creation?" And then that would kind of spark like, "Oh yeah, like what is this about?" So it was good.
And then, like you said, Ryan, too, is we were able to in that process introduce ourselves and be like, "Hey, you'll be able to work with us. Like we'll be working with you." And they're like, "Oh, really? Like that's cool." And then that kind of, I feel like for some students that persuaded them to like, "Hey, maybe I'll give this a try. It sounds really cool."
Great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, so then kind of going into the logistics of what those meetings look like. So on Mondays, we do have mandatory meetings. So that one, we do it after school. So it's during the 8th period hours. So this is really where we can do that, that hands-on training. And if it's camera equipment, if it's graphic designs on Canva. And this is also where we're able to, assign those stories to students. Hey, students will come to us and be like, "This is coming up in the coming week or weeks, and can we cover it?" Or this would be a really cool idea to do for this event. And then so we're really able to kind of to gauge like what's happening, and then we do the checkout for equipment, and we tell them, hey, a lot of times, like especially for us, since we're not there every day, they're gonna have the equipment overnight. That's okay. We have a checkout sheet that they sign, and they put what time they took the equipment, and then when they bring it back, they sign it back. Like, hey, it was returned on this date. We check it, everything's cool. And then for Wednesdays, these are more of our office hours. So we have that for the kids if they want to come in, and this is more of like if they want specific feedback on something. Like, hey, we had a kid, for example, he went and covered one of a couple football events. He created an actual video that they're trying to play on the scoreboard at the school site. So he created that highlight video. He's like, hey, I edited. Do you have any feedback, like areas maybe for improvement? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And that's where we're really kind of able to provide that feedback. Like, hey, maybe this shot, shorten it, it's a little too long, change this. So we're able to provide that feedback for them, and then they can make those corrections or later apply it for when they're creating content.
Yeah, and as Peter mentioned, as much as possible, we try to run with the ideas that the kids have.
Yeah.
So at Corona High, the first couple weeks, students had, or the idea came from an administrator, and we ran it by the students, and they said, yes, let's do it. And it was a TikTok trend, the very mindful, very demure trend. So the students did a 15-second video, and it focused on behavior in class or getting to time on class. So it was, hey, let's make sure we get to time on class and be ready to learn. The video ended up taking off, and it has over 1 million views.
So 1.3 million views their first week of being. We haven't even got that kind of viral video, and they did it. So 1.3 million views, 64.3 thousand likes, and just shy of 60,000 shares.
So
That's amazing. Our kids, we let them do a TikTok too. And I get a little annoyed, as Lauren will tell you, that they always do the trends. I'm like, come on, be creative, start a trend. But the trends do help, because that's in the algorithm. That's what people are watching. That's in the FYP page. So that's impressive. And it's like you said, you weren't able to do that, but your students, their idea, that's really cool to see that. I love that.
Yeah, it took off. And then that prompted, so we started getting really nasty comments on there and people being mean. So we ended up taking or shutting the comments on that post specifically. And then we had to have a conversation with the students who made the video saying, hey, these comments are not directed at you. People on social media are very mean sometimes. So we kind of had to coach them through of, this is what happens when you're in this world. You'll post a video and you'll have really awesome comments, but we'll also get negative comments. So we had to have a good, honest conversation with them, which the kids have been so great. They completely understood.
So class intercom, this is more for, and this is good for anyone who's maybe a little hesitant about letting the students have direct access to school social media platforms. So what we did was we actually ended up going with class intercom. So we have a contract with them that we just started this year for those 2 school sites specifically, so that way it's a way for students can still upload what they're creating. It kind of works the same way as like if they're trying to publish on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but it's a way to kind of vet what's being published. So they'll put it up, their graphic, their video, and what it does is it lets us kind of oversee it, and we look at it before it's published. So we can look at it, admin can look at it. Hey, maybe this isn't something we want to post, or can we change it? Can you make these little adjustments? So it's really a great way to kind of see what's being published before it gets published. That way we know it's okay to publish, and then the students are still able to upload their work, and we make it happen.
Yeah, that's just real quick. That's a great way. We in Arcadia, we're crazy and we let the kids post directly to social media. We don't check it, but because we've had them for years and we've trained them. So, but your superintendent, your admin may be like, whoa, we can't let our students post directly to social media. But class intercom is a great way. They can basically put a draft. You could simply approve it, so you're not rewriting everything. Exactly. And you guys were telling me before the meeting, it's relatively affordable, correct?
Yeah, that's another good thing, is that it's for the most part it is relatively affordable. So it's
about $1,500 for the year.
Yeah.
Nice.
And with that, you're able to add, so for the schools, you're able to add as many students as you want, which is great. So there's no limit to the students that have access to class intercom. And what's nice is with class intercom, we're not just introducing this system to students and like, hey, figure it out. What's nice is class intercom actually has courses. So they have like an introductory course, like almost like a level 1 course. Mm-hmm. And what we did is we made students take that course, and then once they take it, there's like a little quiz about the course, and then once they're able to complete it, we get that certificate of completion for level 1. So that way students are more familiar with how class intercom works, and then they're able to use it more efficiently.
That's cool. Yeah, Dave was saying close to me that they use Social Pilot, but it seems like it might be a little bit more pricey. So that's a good option to check out. That's cool.
Yeah, class intercom so far has been great. Any issues that we've had, they are quick to respond and resolve it. They have a ton of trainings, not only on the student side, but also on the administrator side. They have just anything that you need. They already have a video for it. And the kids, the certification that Peter was sharing about, it was a 25-minute video course, so not very long. And then we had the kids during one of our class meetings or our club meetings. We have the kids sit at the computers and watch them and take the quiz. And that way on our end, we can see how many kids have completed the certification.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you.
David, I know, can you give assignments on class intercom? I know that they have a feature where you can comment back and forth, but I'm not too sure about assignments. We haven't played around with all the features just yet. Right now we're using it where the kids will upload their draft, and then we'll provide feedback if we have any, and then move forward through the approval process. So media badges, we had we took photos of all the students and we created media badges for them. They are 3 by 5 inch badges, and we laminated them and put them in the plastic cover so that way hopefully it lasts them the whole year. We got lanyards, and we also sent out the badge in our staff newsletter, and also we have an email that we send out to all administrators called the weekly wrap up. So we sent it in there, and then we sent it specifically to all athletic directors to let them know, hey, if you see a student on your campus during a football game with this badge, they're from the DNT club. So then this provides them the opportunity. Norco High kids ask, can we go to Corona High and cover their game? And it allows them the flexibility to jump around between the schools if they want to cover another school.
Yeah. And then I saw a question pop up earlier. Yeah, these were created in-house. So we created these using Canva to create the badges.
Yes. Yeah. So we created them on Canva, and then our print shop department printed them for us.
Yeah.
But even if you get really nice cardstock paper and laminate them and put them in the clear badges, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then the clear badges we got on Amazon, and I want to say it was about $30 for a 50 pack. So they're pretty affordable.
Yeah, these are good. We do them. We don't do their pictures on them. That's a nice touch, but they do help with access and the athletic director. As long as you tell the athletic directors and everyone that if you see these, they're good to go. They should have access. Yeah. But the kids also love them. It makes them feel a little bit special. They have access and privilege that no one else has. So they also like just having them. So it's a good idea to do and very affordable.
Did you want to mention the swag on top of it real quick?
We have it on.
Okay. So real quick for the gear. So what we did, it could, I guess it's really specific to what you feel you need. So for example, for us, we wanted to prioritize both photo and video. So when doing that, we chose cameras that are capable of both. That's why we chose these Sony's. These are A6700s. So these are really good at photo and video capability. So that way, if students want to, lean more towards photography, they can do that. Or we have other students like, hey, I want to learn more video. They can also do that. And they're not limited to the camera. We did get new Macs, so that way they're able to work. It runs Canva, it runs Final Cut Pro. We have the Adobe suite for them. So like After Effects, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, those Macs can handle it. It's no problem. And those are nice because they come with the keyboard and mouse. So you get it, everything's ready to go. We did get also 2 iPhones for the students who sometimes they won't want to take the whole camera system. So they just want an iPhone. If they know it's just a quick little edit they can do, they take the iPhone, they'll shoot videos, photos, and then put that together in CapCut. We do have bags for the cameras, and every time a student checks out the equipment, it's always in a bag with, if they need an extra battery, the mic, whatever they need. We did get extra batteries because what we do is when the students bring back the equipment, we immediately put those batteries to charge, and then we swap them for fresh ones. So that way, when a kid checks out another camera, they're not waiting for the battery to charge. We always have a fresh battery inside the cameras. And then as far as lenses, so this is one thing. It depends on your needs. But so if we look all the to the right, those 2 at the ends, those are, I think it's like a 17 or 18 to 300 range. So those are good. That covers everything. So that covers if they're having a little college and career fair, close-up shots, or if they're going to do something sports related where they know they're on a field and they need to get close-ups, that will cover all the ranges. So we wanted to prioritize 2 of those. We have 2 that kind of cover those ranges. So that way, if one student's going to cover one event that's sports related, but there's something else happening that's another sports event on the same day, football, and they have, like, for example, volleyball was going on, they're able to take those and really get not, be on the sideline, but able to get those close-up shots of the action that they're trying to do. And then obviously we have a tripod because we kind of emphasize the importance of like what it's like to get a steady shot. And that way, you don't have to carry all the heavy equipment all the time. You set up your tripod, you have it there, and whatever you need, it makes it easier.
And one thing to note is that our 2 high schools are very different. So at Norco High School, they actually have a video production pathway through our career technical education program. So they have access to more equipment than at Corona High School. And then actually, I'll go more into detail. But for the swag, so kids, we provided swag when we had an orientation day during the summertime, and we purchased media hoodies, t-shirts, and then the badge, and they got a notebook, and then also a DMT tumbler. And then we let them know that whenever they're covering school events, to wear their t-shirt or their hoodie, and that they have to wear their badge. So then that way staff members are able to identify that they are part of the digital media team. And the swag was really well received. The kids loved it.
Yeah.
They were really excited about it.
Real quick, I saw a question come up about if we allow students to use their own equipment. That's a great question. Yes, we do. We have, for example, one of our schools, we have 2 students who actually prefer to use their own equipment. They have their own camera. They have a variety of lenses. And yeah, we let them, if they want to use their camera, they use it. And it still produces great results that we're able to use, when we publish content. So they're definitely allowed to use their own equipment. All right, so the summer training. So this was when it officially started this summer. So we had a day where we had all the students come in for a training. It was from 9 a.m. in the morning to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And this is where we were able to kind of do the introductions, where they were able to meet us, the communications department. And we kind of were able to go over the program expectations, what we expected of them. We were able to give them a tour of our office, kind of how we do things here. They saw our little green screen area, our what we do here in-house. And then we were able to do kind of what we did the last slide, the whole equipment overview with them, what they were going to receive, the expectations of handling that equipment. And then again, kind of going over, hey, if something happens, please don't be afraid to let us know. We want to make sure that, you come with us as soon as there is a problem, and we will do our best to correct it. You're not going to get in trouble. We want to emphasize that. We don't want them to feel like they're scared to say something. And then kind of like the idea brainstorming, this is kind of where we got everyone's, creativity flowing. This is what it's going to be like when we're having those meetings. We really want to push, for your ideas, for your creativity. And then really that collaboration piece, like you're going to be working alongside the people in this room, get to know them, work with them, because collaboration really, really is a way for students to thrive. And then the questions, we were able to have questions from the students, anything they had, we were able to answer, because we kind of wanted, if they were feeling stressed, we didn't want them to feel so overwhelmed. We're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, maybe this is too much. But no, we kind of helped alleviate that. Like, this is going to be a great program. And we always remind them that we're here to help them with whatever they need.
And here we have some examples of student work. So on the left-hand side, we have pictures from Corona High that the kids have taken. I know the one on the top left is a little bit hard to see the scoreboard in the back, but as Peter mentioned earlier, the kids are creating graphics for the football games to go on the scoreboard. And on the right-hand side, we have our social media feed from Norco High's Instagram page, and with graphics that the students have created. And whenever the students are submitting content to Class Intercom for approval, we let them know to give themselves credit. So on every graphic that's posted, or picture or video or whatever it may be, in the caption, it'll say graphic and caption created by, Lily Gardner at Norco High, just to help them build kind of their portfolio as they're leaving high school, and to give them credit for their work, because they really have been doing an incredible job. And then I'm going to go back really quick. I did want to touch base on, there was a question about if students had to pay for swag. So I wanted to touch base on how we selected Norco and Corona High out of 50 plus schools. So Norco and Corona High, the digital media team, is part of the Corona Norco Unified School District's Envision initiative. So this initiative started in 2023, and it's a 10-year plan to provide additional support to our 2 flagship schools, which are Corona High and Norco High, with the end goal of increasing enrollment. And there's multiple components to the Envision initiative, but one branch of it was strategic communication efforts, and that's kind of where the idea of launching the club came about. So we've tied it into Envision, which is why it's at those schools specifically, because we do get that question a lot, like, hey, you guys have 5 comprehensive high schools, why is it only at those 2? And it's because of the initiative, or the Envision initiative. And when it comes to the swag, the kids don't have the swag is free. They don't have to pay for anything. All the equipment is provided for them to use for free as well. And we submitted paperwork through our LCAP process to see if we would get approved. And thankfully, we were approved last year. So that's how we were able to fund everything.
Yeah, and then I saw a question about the portfolio for the students. So one thing we were able to do, which is really nice, is with the help of IT, we were actually able to create a shared drive. So those two schools have access to a drive where they're able to upload all their work. So we have them, they're all their names have pretty much a folder as their own name, and within those folders is all the content that they're creating. So we have them do it by date and the event. So that way, later in the year, I always tell them you always want to date it. So if you know there's things that you want to include later as you're building this portfolio, it's not hard to find the content. So you took something in the beginning of the year, for example, in August, and we're in May, you know exactly where you need to go. It's not hard to find your content. And then also that's where they'll be putting in their completed work. So like if they're working on videos, they have the completed version of that project, any kind of graphics they created, that goes in there. So then they have access to all their completed content that they created. So again, if they want to use that for their portfolio or, even a resume, they have it all there ready to go.
And to touch on equipment checkout as well. So as Peter mentioned, we're not at the sites every single day. We're there Mondays afternoon and then Wednesday mornings. So at both schools, at Norco High, because they have a video production teacher, he kind of helps the students check out equipment, because majority of the kids who are in the digital media club are also enrolled in Mr. Cameron's 8th period video production class. However, it's not mandatory for kids to be enrolled in that class to be able to be part of the club. We do have a few kids that are not in the 8th period class, but they're still part of the digital media team. But all that to say is that we have teachers at both school sites. Corona High School doesn't have a video production pathway, but they do have a teacher that helps us with camera equipment checkout, and he's available on the days that we're not there to help the kids check out equipment. So they have access to whatever equipment throughout the week. They're able to check it out and return it and charge batteries and all that stuff.
One thing we do with equipment too, because that could be kind of time consuming. Eventually we created a management position that is the equipment manager. So they handle all the checkouts, they take it in. And so that's kind of been a nice relief where we don't have to do it. So once you get going, when you create manager positions in a year, 2, 3 years, that's something to add, is that will take time away from you. Is like, okay, now we have somebody that's going to manage everything. They're going to check everything in, check it out, which has been nice. Delana asked a great question. She has 27 high schools. How do I start with 2 or 3? I always recommend you do a pilot at 1, maybe 2, and see how it goes. Equity is always very important, but if you try to be equitable and do 27 high schools, you're going to implode upon arrival and never get it off the ground. So I might ask the principals who's interested in doing a pilot, then seeing if you have anyone raise their hand who has buy-in, who wants to do it, who wants to work with you. Try it there, and then slowly see how that goes and see if you can expand. Starting too big too fast may be disastrous. I know people that have done that. So you do want to be equitable, but there's no way to do it at that many high schools. So I would do a pilot, see who's willing to do it, wants to do it, who wants to promote their school more. You'll get buy-in. Maybe they have a CTE program or teacher who wants to work with you. So that's the way I would go about that.
And to add to what Ryan said, that's perfect. And to even maybe kind of gauge those specific schools, what their social media presence looks like. Like, have they been posting regularly? Do they post, was their last post 6 months ago? That's also something to consider, because it's like, hey, maybe we can help this school particularly because we notice your social media presence has kind of been lacking. Is that something you want to explore? Like, hey, we have this program, maybe we can kind of help it to boost whatever you're doing at your school site, your programs, your athletics, and really kind of help those schools that maybe aren't on top of their social media game compared to other school sites.
How many, because you guys have multiple high schools, how many high schools do you guys have?
We have five comprehensive high schools and one middle college, two continuation schools, and then academy. We have eight schools. Yeah.
See, and you didn't try to do 8 because that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Or like, what community are you trying to pass a bond? Do you have a tough time trying to get, support in one area, one high school area? I mean, think strategically about it, because that is a problem because you have so many high schools, but you can kind of think ahead and what will work best. Maybe 1 or 2 high schools to start with.
Exactly.
Yes. I saw a question come through about assignments. So the way that we keep track of assignments is at our Monday meetings. We are at both school sites from 3:45 until 5 p.m. And we try to be as structured as possible. And one thing that the kids let us know from the very beginning is, hey, we don't want to sit and get a presentation the whole time that we're there. We want hands-on activities. So when we're there, we the first 15-20 minutes of the club meeting time is where we do housekeeping. So any reminders that we need to share with the kids, any questions that they have for us, and then also we do mini lessons. So it could be, hey, these are the settings for the camera when you're shooting photo, and then we'll give them a handout. And then we also get ideas from them. And we created a list of all the national days. So today's National Custodian Appreciation Day. So we have a list, and then we share that with the kids. We'll pull it up on the screen and we'll say, hey, next week is National Custodian Day. Who's interested in taking the graphic? And then we'll have kids raise their hand. I am. So then we'll assign it to them, and then we'll give them a deadline. We'll say, okay, it's, National Custodian Days next week. We need it by Wednesday. But as much as possible, even though we do give them deadlines because it's a club and we know that they have a lot of things going on in their lives with school and homework and they're busy, we're flexible. So as long as we get the graphic or video or whatever it is posted by the date that we were supposed to be posting it, then we're good. But for assignments, it's really just whatever they're interested in. We'll have them sign up, or like last week, for example, we had a student pitch the idea that they wanted to highlight the AVID program at their school. So then, okay, we said, awesome, work on a script and then work on coordinating the interviews with the teachers. And they kind of just take the lead from there. So for our meetings every Monday, we have slides, and then we're trying to make it as fun as possible. So in the near future, we're going to have like a photo scavenger hunt activity where we'll give them a list of things that they have to go take, and we're going to break them off into groups just so it's more interactive amongst them. And then that way it switches things up a bit. We're working into securing guest speakers either in person or on Zoom. And then, as Peter mentioned, the field trip to most likely USC. So it'll be fun. Anything?
Yeah, we do a mix of kind of, we know there's a few things that we want to assign them. We need to have this covered and that covered, but then also, explain to them a good journalist, a good reporter brings story ideas to the table. They're not just, copying what the newspaper did the day before and running that on TV that night. So it's kind of a mix. We know there's some things that we want covered, but then like, what are some things you want to cover that they may be interested in? And we find that works well. We did and it depends, like if you have a need, like there's something you need to promote, you're trying to promote the arts you have a new arts program that you want to promote. So like, let's do some videos, some stories about that. We started doing a district magazine probably 2 years ago, which we couldn't do by ourselves, but the kids work on this. It's kind of old school. It's the only old school thing we do. It's not digital, but they love working on it. They do the layout, they write the stories. We're already taking a ton of photos. We're writing stories anyway. So this kind of compiles everything in a nice, neat little branding magazine at the end of each semester. So there's a lot of things. People they ask that question about like, what can the kids do? And I'm always like, I have a long list of things they could do.
Yeah.
So, and if you run out of ideas, what do they want to do? They always have things they want to cover. If they're part of a club or a team, they love to cover those that they know, or their old middle schools. That's a question we get too. And I think somebody alluded to it. So if we're using the high school interns. Do they cover the other schools, middle schools, elementary schools? And for us, absolutely they do. They love going back to their former middle schools, elementary schools. Now they're big kids on campus, but we say we may be at one high school, but we're a district internship. So we're covering everything. Primarily we'll be at the school you're at. It's easier. There's no travel, but when there's events and you can get there, that would be great to cover them as well.
That's awesome. We are not there just yet. So the kids are mainly focused on covering events at their school sites. And then I know, I think Susanna asked if we've seen kids wanting to cover one sport more than anything else. We have noticed a trend with football. So football is very popular. And we have had conversations with the students saying, hey, the digital media club, it's more than covering football. There's other sports, there's other events. We have our visual and performing arts are having a play on this date. And then we also ask the kids, because we have a pretty good mix of kids who are involved in different things. So we have one student who's in color guard, another one in ceramics. So we kind of just let them run with their ideas. And we have kids, there's a number of them who love sports. So they've been covering football and volleyball and the sports realm. But we also have kids who are involved in the arts. So they're doing a behind the scenes in the ceramics class, or like a day in the life of a color guard student. And then we also ask the kids, hey, this isn't just video production or photography. What are you interested in? And we have kids who are interested in writing. So we coordinated an interview with the principal, and they're working on an article. Who is the principal at Norco High? And they interviewed her, asked all the questions. We have kids that love graphic design. So they've been working on graphics. So as much as possible, we try to accommodate to the kids and what they like, and we'll split. And the team here, since we're a team of 9, we try to have 2 communications team members at each school site every time that we're there.
And to kind of go off of what Lily said, having those students in certain things that, you know, that's not sports related is a good way for us to kind of get those valuable insights on something that wouldn't normally get promoted. And so when you look at like for some of these schools' social media posts, there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't really get the attention that it probably should get. So having the students already involved in that, for example, like Lily said, the arts, is a great way to, so now that we have that insight, now that we know what's going on, that's something you can promote. We tell our students that's something you could promote. Again, don't feel like everything has to be sports related. Really, we want you to cover a variety of things and to highlight things that wouldn't normally get the recognition it deserves. And now this is an opportunity for you to kind of put that spotlight on whatever program or event that's happening.
Yeah, and we all know the athletics thinks the performing arts gets all the coverage. Performing arts thinks the athletics gets all the coverage. We also tell our kids that we have kids in choir and band. Like if you're at a competition on the road or something and you can take a few photos, take them, and then we'll take them. And the other thing we say, because no good deed will go unpunished. So you're creating this internship, you're getting more content than you've ever produced before, and then you'll still hear, well, this school never gets anything. So what we tell them, email us, submit the photos, and give us a caption, and we'll post anything you send us. That helps alleviate everything, because they're like, oh, your interns only cover this, they only cover that. But it's like, send us it, take the pictures yourself, have a PTA. And so you'll notice you'll start covering more than you ever have, and you'll get more complaints than you ever have. You're like, wait, what's happening? So that's what we say, hey, submit it yourself. We're happy to post it. Yeah. Which is, and the other thing we explain too, like we get the same thing with football. Everyone wants to go to the football games. Why? Because that's where most people are at. Mm-hmm. So we also give them a life lesson. You know, why isn't Arcadia High on the front page of the LA Times Sports? Well, that's not what the majority of their viewers are. So there will be more of the high school. It's the biggest high school with the most students. There will be a little bit more football, because that's the stadium that's packed at night. That's where the most interest is. So equity, we shoot for it all the time, but that's kind of not life. You have to have clicks and keep the algorithm going. So we strive for it, but it won't be perfect, because it's not perfect in the real world. You know, watch TV and see what gets covered, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, exactly.
The cell phone question is a good one. We're starting to get more of our schools kind of ban them. but we're an after school club. They're kind of an after school combo class too. So they can use their cell phones. We encourage them to. So if you got intimidated by the slide with all their beautiful equipment that they provide, which is nice, we've slowly, added a camera or two over the years to add to what they can use. But when we first started, and even now, their first assignment is with a smartphone and how to create a high quality video with just what you have in your pocket. So you don't need, 10 Sony cameras. Use what you have. Most kids have them. Get a cell phone or something, an old camera. People will donate to you. You have other clubs that maybe you can work with or classes. So you don't need to have this huge arsenal of equipment to get going. You really can have nothing and see what you can do with nothing. Delana asked a good question about evaluation. One of the reasons I love doing it as a club model after school is if they're not cutting it, they're not doing it, we drop them, because you don't want to work with kids who don't want to be there. If they don't want to be there, let them not be there. The issue that people run into when they do it as part of CTE or as a class is that those kids are sitting in the back of the class doing nothing. The ambitious kids in the front of the class are getting annoyed. You have to deal with a kid with an attitude. But when you run it as a club, it's like, and most of the 99% of the time for us, they're trying to do way too many things and they just don't have time for this extra one. So it's like, come back when you have time. But when you run it as a class, they have to stay in there. You have to have somebody to grade it. If it's a club after school format, then you can kind of say, come back next time when you have more time and can commit a little bit further.
And that's one thing that we let the kids know from the very beginning is we let them know, hey, we know some of you may be in sports and extracurriculars. This is a club. If you can't make it to a meeting, that's okay. All we ask is that you communicate with us. So we downloaded Remind, so they have access to messages through Remind, or they also use their student email to send us direct emails to our communications inbox. And so far the kids have, if they're not there, they always let us know, hey, I'm going to miss because X, Y, and Z. And then we say, not a problem. Let us know when, if you'll be back next week. If not, we can catch you up during our Wednesday office hours. And typically, if they're not there on Wednesdays, for the most part, they always swing by on Wednesday mornings and we'll say, hey, can you catch me up on what I missed?
Suzanne asked a question about working in teams. We do a mix of both here. I'm not sure what they do, but I love it when they work together because they enjoy that. They go out and most of their videos they do together too. Somebody can help film, somebody can answer questions, help with a tripod. Just makes it easier to do interviews and talk with people. So I love them when they work together with teams. They enjoy it more. When they're out like doing photos, we have 2 or 3 people doing photos. I tell them you can hang out and talk, but I don't need 2 sets of photos from the same exact angle. So like spread out a bit, do that. So you can work, you can hang out together, but make sure you're not doing the exact same work because we don't need 40 photos of the same thing. But the videos, they work a lot in teams, and we do a video assignment at the beginning of each semester. So they either pair up with 2 or 3 people, and that seems to go pretty well.
Yeah, same for us. We're pretty big on the collaborating piece. We want kids to work together. We feel like that's one of the best approaches. And yeah, we'll have 2 students going to the same event, but we'll assign. So what we'll do is if we know they're going to the same event, we'll assign, hey, one's going to take photo and the other's going to take video. So that way, like you were saying, Ryan, we're not getting two sets of photos from the exact same angle.
Yeah. Which happens. I also have a rule, no repeats. I don't want to see a frame one, it's the same photo, get it out of there. It's 2 frames different. But yeah, and then we tell them too, like we want kids that can work independently, but in teams. And, if you're working on a story, let's make it a multimedia story. So if somebody's writing the article, maybe somebody has a video that's related to it. Maybe somebody else is doing photos, work together. Let's have a great story that has multiple media dimensions. And that, those do very well as opposed to just a story, no photos, or the opposite.
Yeah.
For the piece of the evaluation piece, our plan is as we go forward throughout the school year and we have our mini lessons at the beginning of our meeting is we'll be adding a pre and post test. So if we do a lesson about a press release, We're going to have them take a pretest. So then that way we kind of gauge where they're at. And then at the end of the lesson, we'll follow it up with a post test to kind of gauge how much they've learned. And we also constantly ask the kids just verbally when we're there, hey, do you have any feedback for us? You know, we know we're not perfect. Is there anything from where you're standing where you think like, oh, hey, if they did this, it would be better, or I wish they would do this way, or and they know that. So we've you know, have built that trust with them where they feel comfortable saying, hey, have you thought about this, or can we get an email, you know, on this day? So with the kids, we started sending a weekly update on Friday evenings, and we also send it to the parents. So we are very transparent and include the parents in everything, so they kind of see what information is going out. All the administration team at both school sites also receive the same email. So anything that the kids are getting, both the parents and the administration teams are receiving. And we've had some parents join the remind groups, which is awesome. So they'll get the messages as well. But yeah, we're big on feedback. So we always ask the kids, let us know if there's anything you want to see, if there's anything we need to change. And so far they've been really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, we do feedback in the meetings too. Like we'll put up somebody's video. Like right now we're watching all the videos. So we'll watch it as a group and then we'll go around, we'll do what we liked and, you know, maybe some feedback to improve. And that helps. It's a little bit scary at first for the kids to get their work, you know, kind of critiqued in front of everyone. But that way you do it once and everyone sees it. They all get the feedback. They all get the format, what you're trying to do stylistically. So that helps a lot. We also use the interns, you know, say we have a really good photographer, they'll do a skill presentation kind of by the students for the students. So they do like a 5 to 15-minute presentation, or if they love using a specific like photo editing app that they love, they'll do a presentation for the rest of the interns. We had a gal that started our TikTok that she's done a couple of presentations on the TikTok algorithm, best hashtags to use, you know, how to post, when to post. So we use the students too. Once we realize like, hey, you're really good at this, would you mind doing a presentation? And the kids really, that resonates well with the kids, as does what they're doing, the guest speakers. We have somebody coming in from KCAL, a friend I used to work with, that's a meteorologist and news reporter there. So she'll come in, tell her story, and the kids, they love that too, the guest speakers too. And even if you don't know anyone like in the business, your HR person's always somebody to bring in, great, help them with applications, interview skills. If you have a media teacher, you know, come in and do a quick lesson on lighting or something like that. So you have people in your district that would be great guest speakers. It's just a matter of tapping them, reaching out and asking to borrow some time.
Yes, absolutely. We haven't had students share with the other students just yet, but we do have one student who is awesome at stop motion animation. So we asked her a couple weeks ago, hey, would you be willing to teach the rest of your peers how to do stop motion? And she said, yes, I would love that. So yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you said, Ryan, just tapping into the skill sets that are already there.
That's awesome. That's a super cool one too. And it's like, can you do the presentation for the rest of the students, but really for me, so I can learn it? That's great. Lily, Peter, super impressed with your program, how fast you got it up and running, and kind of the research. I guess real quick as we wrap up, just kind of the process. What was your, you know, you came and visited us, but what else were you doing, and what factors did you have to consider? Because you do have the multiple high schools to go from concept to creation, because that's where a lot of people, they love this idea, they're sitting in here, but in 3 years they still are not going to have the internship. So what was the process for you guys to get to thought to execution?
Great question. So as we shared, the idea really came from Evita and it tying to our Envision initiative. So that's how Norco and Corona High were selected, because they're part of that Envision initiative. And we also looked at just staffing. So we said, okay, we're a team of 9. We have to be at the school site at 2 school sites twice a week. How are we going to make that work? So that's where on Wednesday mornings, we're there from 8 to 10 in the morning. And the reason that time frame was selected for Wednesdays is because it's late late start for the students. So we made it optional. So if they want to come in, they can. And what we've noticed is that the kids they'll show up and they'll ask questions and they'll ask for more projects. And then on Mondays, we figured it would be the easiest after school, especially because we're in the office until 4:30. So we just extend our day a little bit longer to be there until 5:15. But we did look at staffing and then kind of how we would ensure that we still have office coverage back here at the district office. So usually one teammate will stay behind for office coverage and the rest will deploy to the school sites, or if somebody has a meeting, or, because at the end of the day, we still have our job to do. So it just kind of, if Peter can't go one day, it's okay. We'll figure it out and we have another teammate step in. And as far as the program goes, so I am responsible for the program as a whole. Peter's the lead at Norco High, and Brittany, our communications director, is the lead at Corona High. So how it works is I'm responsible for creating the slides and all that, like the day-to-day kind of, and then Peter and Britt will take the lead into the school sites, and then I will also be at the school site supporting and helping lead things. But there was a lot of brainstorming behind. A lot of, even down to the swag, what kind of things would the students like, what's cool, because we wanted to make it cool. So we did ask a couple kids, hey, what's in right now? What color t-shirt should we get? The colors, are these okay? Because we didn't want to create something and then have the kids not like it. So we also asked just a couple kids, and they provided feedback. And the rest, we pitched it to the administration teams and they were all for it. Very, very supportive, which has been super awesome. And we kind of just ran with it.
Yeah, and then fortunately for us, so tying it into the whole Envision 2033 is that it forced us to focus on those two schools. And I know, so people who are considering it like, oh, I have, so many high schools, which high schools do we do? And for us, it's nice because we got to focus on those two. So for people who are considering it, start with the one or start with the two. We told ourselves well before launching it that the first year wasn't going to be perfect. There was going to be bumps in the road. We were probably going to have setbacks, but it's a good way to kind of learn from those mistakes or learn from, that feedback that we're getting and apply it for the next year. So that way, when you have one or two schools you're focusing on, how to move it, how to make it better moving forward. And then if you need to expand it or you want to expand it, admin's interested, you're able to do that instead of going all in, like you said earlier, Ryan, and then, it fails because it's just too overwhelming and it's too much and it's impossible to handle. So definitely start, for those considering it, start with the one or two schools, gauge, the interest, look at their social media presence and kind of just go from there.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say is that, I love the way we do it. Every district is different. They have a need. So you may have to do it a certain way through a CTE class, or you may have this money you need to spend and you need to be paid. But look into that before you do it, because there's certain restrictions. Like if it's in a class, now it's a whole new dynamic. If it's paid, whole new dynamic. We don't have so many students. So I did a podcast about the ideal foundation. And again, it's different for every district. You might have to do it in, but also if you're running it, you need to advocate for yourself as far as like, if you're going to be responsible, but there's a CTE teacher involved, like, all right, you got to tell the superintendent, like, this is what that's going to mean then. So the more control you have, especially if you're running it, you're doing it, which most of you will be, the better, the less restrictions you want on it for yourself, because again, this is a part of your job and they're representing you and you're managing it. It could be a great thing, but when you get all these little things, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, then it becomes challenging. The other last thing is, don't wait until you have everything figured out before you start it, because you will never start it. There's always going to be questions. And the good thing about students, they love helping you create something that's never been done before. And you can tell them, we don't have all the answers. We don't know how this program is going to look the first year, the second year, but we'd love for you to be on the ground floor, help us create it. And students love that. So if you wait till you have everything in this nice little cute document to bring to the board, you're never going to bring that cute document to the board, because there's always questions.
Yeah. And then real quick, I saw a question. We'll touch on it. We are, so 'cause for like getting kids on camera and stuff, we are a passive consent district. So we you know, any kid can be covered unless their parent does an opt-out form. One thing we do have to let everyone know is, say for example, students are covering something that involves special ed students. We have that pretty much is like a double agreement. So they, a lot of times, special education teachers are required to get like a second approval, even though we're a passive consent district. And a lot of times our special education teachers are really good at that. I know we did something in the past and all their students were approved. They had all the paperwork turned in. One thing we cannot do is that we can't capture foster students, regardless if anything. We just can't put them on camera. So it's good for us when we're going in. It's good for students because then admin can let them know, hey, you're going to cover this event, just to let you know these students X, Y, and Z. You can't get them on camera or avoid them, you know, when you're taking photos, and they'll point them out to us, which is nice. And it's good for the students to know too.
Yes, and then as far as having the kids or the parents sign a form for their student to be in the club, we didn't have anything that needed to be signed because it's a club on campus. So it's the same as if it were the American Cancer Society Club or the Recycling Club. And then we do have, like at school sites at Norco High, we have a teacher there that he's there all the time because it's his 8th period. And at Corona High, we have one of the assistant principals that's always available should anything come up and we need help. So there's also always an additional staff member from the school site present there.
Awesome. Lily, Peter, you guys are amazing. Your program's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing with us. Super inspired. You guys have some great ideas that you've implemented. So super impressed. If you guys want to throw your email in the chat real quick, if anyone has some questions to follow up with you guys. We have a general liability form that we do too, that we have our kids sign, but it's the same thing our clubs do. So if you operate like a club, there's the same exact liabilities that your high schools will already have in place. But we can send that to you guys. But yeah, that was super impressive, very informational, and thank you guys so much for doing it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, feel free if you have any questions. I'm typing in our emails on the chat. I am also on Twitter. Let me see. Let me get my Twitter name really quick. Peter, are you on Twitter?
I am not on Twitter.
Not yet on Twitter?
Not yet.
Not yet. But feel free if you want to tweet me. My Twitter name is at Liliana Coms, COMMS. But yeah, feel free if you want to tweet me or email us. We are always more than happy to answer any questions.
Awesome.
Yeah, then we'll hang out for a couple minutes if anyone wants to just pop on, have a question or anything. I also love how like we're DCI, you guys are DMT, just powerful, you know, powerful abbreviation for the team. The kids like that. DMT. Don't mess with the DMT.